Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's your boy back again, and I swear every time I think Drake and his OVO crew can't get any more desperate, they surprise me. If y'all been keeping up, you know Drake was already on shaky ground with that new Nokia track in the works. Plus, Kendrick Lamar's quiet moves threatened to overshadow everything Drake got planned. But now, somehow, Drake and his squad managed to start a beef with Nav of all people in one of the silliest ways possible. And let me tell you, it's only making them look more and more pathetic. I mean, just a couple days ago, we was here talking about how Drake better drop Nokia quick before Kendrick pops out and claims that top spot. Meanwhile, we was sure Drake and his guys would lay low, maybe plan their next PR moves or whatever. But nope, these fools decided to pick a fight with Nav. Now, I ain't got nothing against Nav personally, but let's be real. Drake used to battle it out with serious artists. Man was once up against Kendrick, and folks was calling that the biggest rap rivalry. Now he's throwing shade at Nav. That's like going from the NBA Finals to scrimmagin with the junior varsity team. You can't help but shake your head. Word on the street is that Nav dropped a line in one of his new tracks, Back to Business, I believe, where he supposedly took shots at Drake and OVO. It's about him saying something that sounded like OVO body, which might mean he's dissing Drake's crew, or he might have said something else entirely. It ain't even clear. At first, the internet jumped on it saying, Nav diss to Drake, oh my God. Then you had DJ Academics, as usual, pouring gasoline on the fire, talking about how it might be a big scandal. Drake's fans started clawing at Nav, claiming he better watch himself, that he doesn't want the smoke. Then, Nav apparently backtracked, saying folks got it wrong, that he ain't saying OVO, he said over your body, or some junk like that, probably just a misheard lyric, or maybe Nav realized he didn't want no real beef with Drake. Who knows, man? But the funniest part is that OVO fans are praising themselves like they just forced Nav to apologize. They're practically bragging, look how we made Nav tuck his tail between his legs. Like, come on now, are we for real? That's the W y'all celebrating? No disrespect, but let's keep it a buck. Nav ain't exactly known as the greatest lyricist alive. When you talk about top tier MCs, you talk about Drake, Kendrick, Cole, Whale, Big Sean maybe. Nav usually not in that conversation. So it's hilarious that OVO stands are treating this like some triumphant moment. Like, bruh, Drake once tried to take on guys like Kendrick in an epic rivalry, and now you're bragging that you won some made-up scuffle against Nav? What's even crazier is how loud they are about it. I've seen OVO affiliates pushing the narrative that Nav is shook, that he's backpedaling from a direct diss. And I'm thinking, yo, if Drake is so unstoppable, why do y'all even care about Nav? Shouldn't they be ignoring lesser rap feuds if they truly see themselves as the biggest fish in the pond? The fact they so hype about this shows how desperate they are for any victory. They keep reminding me of folks who used to say Drake was the king of rap. Now they're celebrating a possible apology from Nav, of all people. Just step back a minute. Remember the days we were talking about Drake versus Kendrick, arguably two of the biggest names in the game? Kendrick's been quiet, doing his hush-hush thing, rumored to be filming a new video that might overshadow Drake's Nokia. And that's a real rivalry. That's how big dogs face off, where the entire culture's watching. But now, it's turned into Drake fans bragging about how they tamed Nav. Feels like we came down a bunch of levels. If this is what Drake's crew's got to brag about, it's basically proof they got no real wins left. Also, let's not forget, Nav is part of the Weeknd circle. He's on XO. If Drake was truly about that beef life, wouldn't he aim at the Weeknd himself? The Weeknd is huge, more on Drake's tier. But that's not happening, so it's basically Drake and his folks picking on a smaller target and calling it a triumph. It's almost comedic. If the Weeknd or someone of that caliber had dissed Drake, that'd be a serious story. But Nav, that's not even top tier from that label. It's like the Weeknd didn't even care enough to show up, so he let Nav say whatever. Tells you a lot about how they view Drake these days. The lines Nav rapped, people said it might have been referencing OVO, might have been some big shot at Drake. Then Nav clarified it wasn't about them. We'll never know if that's him backtracking out of fear or if it truly was a misheard bar. Either way, do we even care? Nav's not known for intense rap battles. If he wanted to take a jab at Drake, it wouldn't be that huge of a storyline. So why are Drake's fans spiking the football like they just scored a touchdown on primetime TV? I heard folks from OVO claiming this is proof nobody wants to face Drake, that everyone cowers when they realize who they're messing with. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here thinking, man, y'all are so bored you trying to hype up a mini scuffle with Nav. That's like bragging you made the water boy apologize for stepping on your toe. I can't help but chuckle at how petty it is. Let's keep it real. If you were on top, you wouldn't be flexing about some random beef with a lower tier rapper, especially a beef that might not even be real. Plus, Drake's fans are always talking about how big and bad OVO is, how they run the city, how none of these other artists want that smoke. But then you see them piling on Nav like it's an amazing victory. That's major insecurity if you ask me. Back when Drake had that friction with Kendrick, that felt like a true showdown. Two heavyweights that could break the internet whenever they drop. People talk about them on the same pedestal, even if Drake's more pop friendly and Kendrick's more lyric focused. That's real competition. But celebrating a random Nav line that might or might not be about OVO, that's just silly. If anything, it's showing that Drake's side is so starved for wins, they'll take whatever they can get. Another layer, apparently Nav been indirectly part of that bigger Weeknd versus OVO dynamic, especially after the Weeknd and Drake had that tension about who runs the city's R&B rap vibe. Nav is from that circle, so obviously he lines up with them, not Drake. Maybe Drake's circle is still stung by that. Maybe that's why they're jumping at him, to feel like they got a small W somewhere. But it's still weird to watch, because it reminds me how Drake's brand has shrunk from going at legends to picking fights with lesser known names. On top of that, you got people like academics stoking the flames, which is typical. He's always out here instigating, playing up minor stories for clicks. Then, once it backfires, or once the truth comes out, he's forced to backtrack. That's exactly what happened with Nav, who apparently told Ak he ain't dissing Drake or OVO at all. So a big chunk of this is just misunderstandings or hype. Yet, OVO folks keep running with the "we made him backtrack" storyline, trying to paint themselves as unstoppable. Meanwhile, let's not forget the real battle we've been tracking. Drake and his Nokia single versus Kendrick, possibly dropping something new. Like I said earlier, Kendrick's rumored to be filming a big project with that car, so fans are on edge, waiting to see if it overshadows Drake's entire rollout. That's the real drama. Nav's little conflict with Drake is basically a sideshow. In the grand scheme, the rap world wants to see if Drake can keep hold of the charts when Kendrick makes his move. If Drake's squad is focusing on Nav right now, it's like they're ignoring the actual threat on the horizon, or maybe they're just picking easy fights to pump themselves up. Kendrick's known for stepping out quietly, dropping one teaser, and then dominating every conversation for weeks. Drake should be prepping Nokia to face that wave. But instead, OVO affiliates are bragging about shutting down Nav's alleged diss. It feels like when you're in a war, but you start waving your arms around about some side battle that doesn't matter, while the real boss fight is waiting. That's why I think the entire Nav fiasco is extra silly. It's a distraction from the fact Drake's biggest worry is Kendrick, not Nav. This might be the saddest part. OVO used to be known for massive talent, big cosigns, and Drake's unstoppable chart run. Nowadays, it's overshadowed by the fact Drake lost the Kendrick beef in the eyes of many rap fans, and now they're stuck hype managing a victory against Nav. The gap between how big Drake once was and how small this story is just shows how much he's fallen off in terms of rap respect. He might still be doing numbers, but rap respect is a whole different ballgame. And if y'all think about it, if Drake was truly unstoppable, he wouldn't need his crew to blow up the internet saying, "We made Nav take back the bars." That's not even a big accomplishment. The real test is whether Drake's next single or album resonates with fans who like bars and substance. If it doesn't, the Kendricks, J. Cole's, and others will keep snatching the conversation. I keep returning to this because it's just so cringe, man. Drake's fans are saying stuff like, "We forced Nav to apologize. You see how nobody wants it with OVO," and I'm over here like, really? Y'all putting that on your resume? That's like beating a friend in a pickup game who's never hooped seriously, then talking like you just won the NBA championship. People see how silly that is. If anything, it draws more attention to how Drake's not engaged in meaningful rap battles. If that's the best you got to celebrate, it's basically an admission that your man Drake got nothing bigger going on right now, besides waiting for Nokia to drop and trying to dodge the fear that Kendrick could overshadow him again. Will it escalate? Honestly, I doubt it. I think Nav and probably XO don't want a full-blown war with Drake and OVO. Ain't no point. Drake is still huge, and Nav's career, while stable, ain't at that level. Plus, from what I can see, Nav already said it wasn't about Drake. So the story's basically done. The only reason it keeps going is because OVO fans love to push the idea that they're so dominant, they made Nav bow down. But likely, it'll fizzle out once people see there's no real tension, no real diss is being thrown, and especially once Drake focuses on dropping Nokia officially, or once Kendrick shows up and commands all the attention. That second scenario is probably the bigger risk for Drake, and that's why we see them amuse themselves with small wins like the Nav fiasco. At the end of the day, Drake's crew started a ridiculous scuffle with Nav that might not even be real. then bragged about winning by forcing Nav to clarify or take back his lines. All that does is highlight how silly the OVO fan base is when they're short on real wins. If you gotta act this hype about shutting down a mid-level artist, you definitely struggling. Meanwhile, we know Kendrick is out there filming some big visuals, and that's the real thunder Drake should be worried about, because if that new Kendrick content hits, Nokia might quickly get overshadowed, no matter how big a budget Drake put into that video. In my eyes, it's another sign that Drake's star power in rap is slipping. He's still a huge name in pop, but the respect factor is dropping off. If his biggest flex is a trivial scuffle with Nav, that's not exactly the sign of a top dog champion. Feels like we're watching a once unstoppable champ searching for small battles to look relevant. Not a good look. And honestly, it's comedic. Who'd have thought we'd see the day Drake's team is out here hype about beating Nav in a so-called feud? Anyway, that's my take on this clown show. How y'all feel about it? Do you think Nav actually tried to diss Drake and then changed his mind? Or was it all just a misunderstanding made bigger by Drake's fans? Drop your thoughts below. And if you're as tired of these petty OVO wins as I am, hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep track of the real heavyweights in rap, like what Kendrick's about to drop. I'll be on the lookout for any word about that DNX footage and how it might overshadow Nokia. Stay tuned, because the second we hear more, I'll be back to let y'all know. In the meantime, keep bumping real music, and don't let these silly beefs distract you from who's truly running the game. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace.